When you go fishing, you need a good fisherman, the right equipment, perhaps a bit of luck and a good boat. So today with the Boat Show, we are going to discover a boat that is already promising just by its name, because it is named after a man that is a 33-time world fishing champion and has followed the design of this new model from the very beginning. I'm talking about Marco Volpi, and this is the new Tukoli Vm250. If you are someone who enjoys to fish, then today you will have some fun. The shipyard was born in 1958 when a skilled shipwright, Ivano Tukuli, began to build his first wooden boats. Over the years, within the shipyard, new generations follow one another, and Marco Tukuli, son of Ivano, introduces fiberglass production and defines the definitive direction of the shipyard. These will be the fishermen of the Mediterranean. And from this leadership, we reach the present, where the collaboration with one of the most successful fishermen in the world, being Marco Volpi, forges a boat that is balanced in terms of spaces, deck volumes and ergonomic solutions. But let's take it a step at a time, so we can get to know her better. The transom area and the small fiberglass gate separate the wet area from that of the cockpit. Here we find a 40-litre continuous recirculation live well and an 80-litre fish tank, which on request can become the second live well. Would you like 3? Nothing simpler. The third can be arranged under this seat and its storage is already organised. This here is the fisherman's working environment, meaning the cockpit, which has a usable area of 2 square metres. This is a seating unit that Marco Volpi wanted without backrest or superfluous volumes, which would only be in the way when you're busy fishing. Yet, if you want to be a little more comfortable, well, you can put this on. The fishing rod holders can be placed here on the gunwales of the cockpit and on the edge of the stern, and when they're not being used, they can be set up on the edge of the T-top. Under the stern flooring, there are 5 lockers where you can stow everything you need on board. These are countermolded, just as the rest of the hull.
Su una barca da pesca, nell'area di lavoro bisognerebbe sempre arrivare.
The working area of the fishing boat should always allow you to touch the water, and in this case, the reverse sheer overturn from the bow accompanies the movement of the bulwark, which must not be too low, otherwise you wouldn't have a foothold for those hyper moments. But what is the ideal height? According to Marco Volpi, it's immediately above the knee height, and the toe goes under the stirrup.
La postazione di pilotaggio è pensata nei minimi particolari.
The helm station has been designed down to the smallest detail, and in fact the console is set up like terracing, that is, large multi-level platform surrounded by a plexiglass border. Simple and very useful. According to Volpi, the control panel doesn't have to be excessively wide, also because we're on an 8-metre and not on a motor ship. He prefers to have multiple instruments that have the same function. Just think that it navigates with 3 GPS, so Tukuli arranged the spaces in order to set up a 9-inch and a 14-inch. To get to the bow, you have to go up 2 steps. Under the floor, there is a bow locker of almost 4 cubic metres that allows the storage of everything, even of me and Nico as we record these images. The walkable area of the bow is more than 4 square metres. Here there is a front-facing seat with a smaller yet easier to access locker. All this is surrounded by handrails and padded stringers. On the far bow there is the possibility of installing a trolling motor. The fiberglass structure is oversized. This boat is heavy, which gives us a lot of structural confidence and safety in navigation. Keep in mind that the maximum point, that is on the keel, the hull can measure more than 2 centimeters. So today I'll have to keep an eye on consumption to see if Ubaldo, the engineer who designed this hull, managed to balance this superstructure thanks to the waterlines.
10 nodi, punto 5. Lo scafo è già abbondantemente implanato.
10.5 knots, the hull is already well on plane and we're consuming 19.5 litres per hour. We have the maximum motorization that can be installed on this model, that is 300 horsepower by Suzuki.
Oggi certo proverò la velocità massima, ma cosa che mi...
Today I will try the maximum speed, but what interests me even more is to test it on its cruising speed and observe the speed and consumption on long navigations. But before we go full throttle, let's pretend that I'm on this boat alone and I'm going to arrive at my GPS point. So I turn off the gas, take off the kill cord and head toward the lower trolling motor, and I timed how long it took to get here.
3 secondi e 56.
3.56 seconds. That's because there is nothing in the way and the minimum passage measures 23 centimetres. On board, the highest point is here at the bow, and my balance is excellent. This means that even with rougher waters there should be no problems with rolling.
Di questo non dovrebbero esserci problemi di rollio. Ed effettivamente questo è uno dei più grandi problemi dei fisherman, perché certo la navigabilità...
Actually, this is one of the biggest problems of fishermen because obviously navigability is fundamental. But you can't even exaggerate with the depth of the keel because we're on a fishing trip. We spend most of the time at anchor and stability is just as equally important when the boat is stationary. At the stern, the dead rise is 22 degrees, and with the water lines of this hull, that seems like an excellent compromise. Today, here in Livorno, the sea is flat, so to test this boat on a wave means I'll have to create one for myself. When veering, the boat leans on its side quite much, yet it is stable. This is certainly thanks to its large mass.
Per creare un'onda...
To create a better wave, I have to go a little slower. And there it is.
Prendiamola dritta in prua e...
Let's go back to starboard in the bow, and it's very, very smooth.
Una buona velocità di crociera...
Good cruising speed is between 22 and 30 knots, depending on how comfortable you want to sail and how much you want to consume.
22 nodi, 3000...
22 knots, 3,900 RPM, and we're consuming 36.6 litres per hour.
A 30 nodi invece stiamo
At
consumando...
30 knots, on the other hand, we're consuming 57.4 litres per hour, 4,600 RPM.
Con la nuova gestione di Paolo...
With the new management of Paolo Sanguitola, the old models have been revised and there have been new launches. The Tukuli Vm250 comes from the waterlines of the old TUCCOLI T250. The substantial difference was precisely the inboard propulsion.
Questa modifica non è assolutamente banale
This
perché...
modification is by no means trivial because the weights on board change significantly, and for navigation to remain optimal, a profound study on the balance of the hull is required and the creation of a bracket created ad hoc.
Per arrivare a questo...
To get to what is fitted as standard today, TUCCOLI has done many tests, but the result is visible.
Gas tutto aperto. Il motore dietro comincia a cantare 5800 giri
Full throttle. The engine behind me begins to roar, 5,800 RPM. I'm hitting 37.4 knots. Consumption, 97.1 litres per hour. Of this model, there is the Marco Volpi version, which is this one, or the Capraia version, with a cabin in the bow. Starting price, €71,000. I didn't bring fishing rods today, but I will continue to enjoy myself by simply navigating.